Leviathan. Leviathan is a legendary sea monster from ancient religious stories and mythology. It is most famous from the Bible, where it is described as a gigantic serpent or dragon-like creature living deep beneath the ocean. The monster was believed to be incredibly powerful, with huge teeth, thick scales, and enormous strength that made it nearly impossible to defeat. In many old stories, Leviathan represented chaos and destruction. People imagined it as a terrifying beast capable of creating massive storms and giant waves just by moving through the water. Sailors feared that the creature could destroy ships or swallow entire animals whole. Some legends described Leviathan as so large that it wrapped around huge parts of the sea. Over time, different cultures added their own ideas to the monster, making it even more mysterious and terrifying. Today, Leviathan remains one of the most famous mythical sea creatures in the world. It appears in horror stories, fantasy games, movies, and television as a gigantic, unstoppable monster hidden deep in the ocean. Cthulhu. Cthulhu is a famous cosmic sea creature created by horror writer H.P. Lovecraft in the story The Call of Cthulhu in 1928. Unlike normal monsters, Cthulhu is an ancient cosmic being far older and more powerful than humanity. It is usually described as a gigantic creature with dragon-like wings, sharp claws, scaly skin, and an octopus-like face covered in terrifying tentacles. According to the stories, Cthulhu sleeps beneath the Pacific Ocean inside a lost underwater city called R'lyeh. The creature waits for the right time to awaken again. Many people in the stories lose their minds simply by seeing Cthulhu because its appearance is too horrifying for humans to understand. What makes Cthulhu truly terrifying is the idea that humanity is tiny and powerless compared to ancient cosmic beings like it. The monster became a symbol of cosmic horror and fear of the unknown universe. Today, Cthulhu is one of the most recognizable horror creatures ever created and has inspired countless movies, games, books, and internet horror stories. Scylla. Scylla is a terrifying sea monster from ancient Greek mythology. She was believed to live near a narrow sea passage opposite another deadly creature called Charybdis. Sailors trying to pass through the area faced danger from both monsters at the same time. According to Greek legends, Scylla looked horrifying. She was often described as a giant creature with multiple long necks and several vicious dog-like heads filled with sharp teeth. Some stories also described her lower body as being surrounded by twisting tentacles or monster tails. When ships passed too close, Scylla would quickly attack, grabbing sailors from the decks and eating them alive. Because the passage was so narrow, sailors often had no choice but to risk sailing near one monster to avoid the other. Scylla became one of the most feared creatures in Greek mythology because she represented unavoidable danger at sea. Ancient sailors told stories about her to explain the deadly waters and rocky coastlines they encountered. Today, Scylla still appears in fantasy stories, movies, and games as one of mythology's most horrifying sea monsters. Charybdis. Charybdis is a dangerous sea monster from Greek mythology, known for creating massive whirlpools in the ocean. She lived across from the monster Scylla in a narrow sea passage, trapping sailors between two deadly dangers. Unlike Scylla, who attacked directly, Charybdis destroyed ships by swallowing huge amounts of seawater and then violently releasing it back into the ocean. This created gigantic whirlpools capable of pulling ships underwater in seconds. Sailors feared that once a ship entered the whirlpool, nobody would survive. In Greek legends, heroes trying to cross the dangerous waters had to decide whether to risk sailing closer to Scylla or Charybdis. This became the origin of the phrase "between Scylla and Charybdis," meaning being trapped between two terrible choices. Some stories describe Charybdis as the daughter of sea gods, who was transformed into a monster because of her greed and destruction. Today, Charybdis remains one of the most famous sea monsters in mythology, and is often shown in fantasy stories as a giant ocean creature capable of controlling the sea itself. Hydra. The Hydra is a legendary monster from Greek mythology, famous for its many heads and terrifying ability to regenerate. It was usually described as a giant serpent-like creature living in swamps and dark waters. The monster became especially feared because whenever one of its heads was cut off, two new heads would grow back in its place. According to the myths, the Hydra had poisonous blood and deadly breath that could kill humans instantly. Entire areas were said to become dangerous simply because the creature lived nearby. The Hydra became famous through the story of Hercules, the legendary Greek hero. One of his greatest tasks was defeating the monster. During the battle, Hercules realized cutting off the heads only made the creature stronger. To stop the heads from growing back, he burned the necks after cutting them. The Hydra became a symbol of problems that grow worse when attacked the wrong way. Even today, the monster is used in movies, fantasy stories, and games as one of the most iconic multi-headed creatures ever created. Tiamat. Tiamat is one of the oldest sea monsters in mythology and comes from ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian legends that are more than 4,000 years old. She was believed to exist before the world was created and represented the giant chaotic ocean. In most stories, Tiamat appeared as a massive dragon-like sea creature with incredible power. She became angry when younger gods disturbed the ancient universe, so she decided to wage war against them. To fight the gods, Tiamat created an army of terrifying monsters and giant beasts. The storm god Marduk eventually challenged Tiamat in an enormous battle. After defeating her, he split her giant body into two parts. According to the myth, one half became the sky, while the other became the earth. Tiamat became a symbol of chaos, destruction, and ancient cosmic power. Because of her enormous size and terrifying appearance, many people consider her one of the greatest sea monsters ever imagined. Today, Tiamat appears in fantasy games, movies, books, and modern mythology-inspired stories. The Lusca. The Lusca is a terrifying sea creature from Caribbean folklore, especially stories told around the Bahamas. People describe it as a giant monster that is part shark and part octopus, combining the strength of both creatures into one horrifying predator. According to the legends, the Lusca lives deep inside underwater caves and blue holes near islands. Fishermen and divers feared entering these dark underwater areas because many believed the creature waited there to attack anything that came too close. Stories claim the Lusca uses its giant tentacles to grab boats, drag people underwater, and crush its victims beneath the ocean. Some legends describe it as being incredibly intelligent and capable of ambushing prey from hidden caves. The myth likely grew from sightings of giant squids, large sharks, and dangerous ocean currents found in underwater cave systems. Over time, sailors combined these fears into the legend of a single giant monster. Today, the Lusca remains one of the most famous sea legends in the Caribbean and continues to appear in horror stories and internet mystery videos. Umibōzu. Umibōzu is a mysterious sea monster from Japanese folklore. The name roughly means sea monk because the creature was often described as having a giant dark head shaped like a bald monk. Sailors feared Umibōzu because it appeared suddenly during calm nights far from shore. According to the legends, the monster would rise silently from the ocean as an enormous shadowy figure towering above ships. Some stories described it as having glowing eyes and a completely black body blending into the darkness of the sea. After appearing, Umibōzu would usually create violent storms or giant waves that destroyed boats and drowned sailors. In some myths, the creature demanded barrels from sailors and then used them to flood the ship. Nobody knew exactly where Umibōzu came from. Some believed it was the spirit of drowned monks or angry sea spirits haunting the ocean. Today, Umibōzu remains one of Japan's most famous mythical sea creatures. It still appears in horror anime, movies, games, and ghost stories because of its eerie and mysterious appearance.